Watch the entire video, my lovely viewers, I mean from start to finish, to get the whole thing. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into it.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Hi lovely viewers, it's me again, your one and only Mutati Mpundu. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time on my channel, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button down below. Turn the bell icon to join the notification squad. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you lovely viewers.
ECL locked him up at Mukobeko for a silly offense which he himself committed in Mongu. Okay? For a silly offense which he committed to excite people, to show people in Mongu that he was very popular. And he wanted, to block the presidential motorcade. And I said it, on many programs, that if it were in other countries, HH would have been shot dead that day by the security people, because he was risking the life of a head of state. So he does something silly himself, and now he turns around to be vengeful against the action that was taken against him. The difference, that the position that I took at that time was that what he did was not reasonable. All right? Okay? And I made that statement when ECL was still in office. I said, yes, what has happened is silly, but this is not treason. I still went ahead to pay him a visit, in prison. Not because he hadn't done something wrong, but because he was a colleague in the opposition. So there's no doubt that the man is still bitter from that experience. So all this thing about the Lungus is targeted at ECL at the end of the day. So he has to harass his children, he has to harass his wife, and stress the man, and that kind of thing. But you see, what is really saddening is that HH has more important problems on his hands than ECL. He has more important things. The people here in the Chipata compound are going hungry. They don't care about ECL. As far as they are concerned, he's already out of power. What they want is for him to deal with issues of their bread and butter. This morning, there's a contingent of police officers on the streets in town to throw out the street vendors. Those street vendors are not the problem. They are a symptom of a collapsed economy. An economy which he promised to come and fix. They are doing that because they want jobs from him. And he promised them jobs. So my view is that he has much more important thing that should be keeping him awake at night, and not ECL. Even assuming that he locked up ECL tomorrow, how will that improve the kwacha dollar rate? How will that feed the people of Chawama? How will that reduce the price of fuel in this country? How in God's name would the locking up of ECL just turn around this economy overnight? So if he wants to listen to an independent piece of advice, is Bwana, if ECL has done something wrong, the law will catch up with him. And you are not the police officer. Leave that to the police. In the meantime, get on with the business that the Zambian people voted you for.
Let's look at previously. I know that, I don't know, maybe this is a Zambian way or the African way that when, a leader leaves power, there's the issue of following them up based on what they did when they were at the helmet of power. Talk about what happened during the MMD Chiluba Mwanawasa scenario. Let's talk about also Rupia Banda, the late Michael Chilufya as well. How do we change that going forward in our political dispensation?
We change that, Eugene, by what I said earlier. Let's remove the article that allows a sitting head of state to be immune from any criminal investigations or even prosecution until they get out of power. I think we have learned now from the past. Okay? And I can tell you that article also has a historical context because we inherited it from the colonial era. Okay? As you know, in the United Kingdom, the Queen is the head of state. The Prime Minister is the head of government. And because the Queen is not involved, or the King now, King Charles III, is not involved in politics, he is given, that infallibility, that he can't do anything wrong. Okay? But now we have learned that in fact you can commit an offense while you are seated in the State House. My argument, I go back to it again, is we should not wait for 5 years. We should be able to submit that person to the police. So, I was Minister of Justice who moved a motion in Parliament against Arabi for the lifting of his immunity. And I don't apologize for it, I don't regret, because we had evidence that Arabi had done something wrong while he was head of state. And we wanted him answerable. I can tell you that it was not malicious. We didn't sit in a corner with Michael Sat and I, and tried to connive against, Arabi. That's not my character. But when PF came into power under ECL, the same people that voted for that motion turned around and voted against it. Okay. Meaning they didn't believe in what they were voting for. That surprised me. But obviously, they exchanged the vote because I'm told the arrangement was that Arabi made the ECL win in Eastern Province. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, that was their time. But we need to get this thing resolved. And the way we get around it is that if you are head of state, we hear that you are doing something wrong at community house, the police must be able to call you and take a statement from you.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, President Kambimba, let's get to look at also something that has been quite topical, and I don't know when it will come to be put to rest, or maybe we have to wait until the current president leaves that office. Is the issue of the president's residence in this case is not housed at Nkwazi House, and that in itself has been a topical issue. We don't know what our law says about where the president is supposed to stay.
There is no specific law that says that the president must stay in Nkwazi House. There's no law like that. Okay. He can squat even in Chipata compound.
Okay.
But the convention, since independence, is that the president stays at Nkwazi House. The governor of Northern Rhodesia, Sir Evelyn Horn, the last governor of Northern Rhodesia, Sir Evelyn Horn, his residence is what you see as State House today, where the office of the president is. That was the residence of the governor. Okay? After 1964, Kaunda built Nkwazi House. And he started living Nkwazi House. And the successive presidents have lived in Nkwazi House. And there are many reasons for that. Firstly, it's easy access to the office. Okay. Kaunda sometimes used to walk from Nkwazi House to the office. The president works long into the night. Not our president when we talk 16 hours. When we report in 10 hours. Okay? Men like Kaunda, they used to report, at the office at 6. Afika Mdaram office. He reads his intelligence briefing. He works late into the night. Okay? There are 2 bedrooms in Nkwazi House. There are 2 bedrooms. Such that, if the president comes back late from the office, and he doesn't want to disturb, the wife, he goes into the next bedroom. I remember when we were students at UNZA, in 1980, just shortly before we graduated, we demonstrated as students, because those days, so we had a lot of energy. So we demonstrated, over Zimbabwe, because we are very politically conscious. Not my students were when they welcome a meal allowance. Meal allowance was not an issue to us. We went to State House, and Keke came out, to address us. And as he was addressing us, the wife walked across, to him. It was about 9 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. She had come from UTH where she was visiting a relative who was a patient there. And then she whispered something to Keke. And after she left, Keke said to us, I've not seen this lady for 3 days. They were in the same house. Same house. Because of the nature of the man's duties, national duties. Not masobe ameniti onaya. Kusobana uku. Kwangala uku. This is cheap. To be honest with you, those of us that saw how, men like Keke. Keke told us, I've not seen my wife for 3 days. Not because the wife was spending a night somewhere, or Keke was spending a night somewhere. They were in the same house. Because they would have a central committee meeting and the cabinet joint meeting running into the early hours of the morning. You can't go and walk into the bedroom where your wife is. So you go and spend. So there are a lot of advantages. Problem is that we are dealing with, a young generation now that does not know the past of this country, and these things are not taught, at secondary school history. We continue teaching, who discovered the Victoria Falls, David Livingstone, when that is not even correct. Okay? So there are advantages. The other advantage is security. Okay. The other advantage is security. Because, the head of state is the embodiment of the security of this nation. So the security of the head of state is a major priority for state security. So you can't have a president using the same route every day to State House, using the same route, back to Community House every day. There's no security like that.
So, but clearly, the president is not doing anything wrong. Maybe that's what we should be.
No, it's not. It's not a question of wrong or right. It's not a question of wrong or right. Yes, he's doing something wrong. Okay. Because if something happened to him today, it can destabilize this nation. So to that extent, he's doing something wrong. That life is no longer his life alone.
Okay.
Okay? It can destabilize the nation. Okay? I mean, we were told, we have read that Trump's house in Florida is far much better than the house he lived in Washington, D.C. when he was president. And Trump is a rich man. He could have decided to be flying from Florida to Washington, D.C. every day, even using his own fuel. He would have said, I don't want to live, in the Oval Office, at the White House. Sorry. I don't want to live at the White House. I want to live in Florida, and I'll be flying myself in a Boeing 737 to Washington, D.C. and back. He didn't do that, and he would not be allowed to do that. So it's not a question of right or wrong, or right and wrong. It's a question of, these are issues of security for the head of state.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Alright, that's all for you today, lovely viewers. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about the video you just watched in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you, lovely viewers. Once again, I go by the name of Mutati Mpundu. I love you, peace, I gotta go.